This looks like our new calf started using this calf shed here. Them stinking cows are reaching under this bar and eating back as far as they can, eating that straw. So today I'm just trying to finish up some of them projects that I was doing in that previous video. Brought my drill and some roofing screws. I'm just gonna start tacking this tin back up here so it's not flopping around so much. And I brought a little piece of wood with me to try to fill up that hole a little bit back there, just to keep the wind from blowing in here too much. Well, that's looking a lot better. At least better than what it was. While that tractor warms up, I'll come out here and feed our beefs. So our 2 grass-fed beefs and then that Hereford looking grain finished beef will be going to butcher here in just about 10 days. So we're on our last leg with these 3 at least. So when it comes to these grass-fed beefs, I just make sure that they've always got hay in front of them. Try to make sure they never run out. Then I also try to feed them some of the highest quality alfalfa that we have. Just to give them that much more protein and just make sure they're eating a good quality hay to try to fatten them up the best I can. So there's not really a set amount that I feed them. I just let them eat as much as they want. Be happy to get rid of this Charlet. Even with me walking around out here almost every day, he's never tamed up at all, so it'd be good to get rid of him. I try to come out here and check this water every day, because with the cold temperatures, sometimes that float freezes there and it doesn't drop down enough to trip the pump to turn on. So I try to keep an eye on that. So here's our grain finished beefs. They're looking really good. This one here is the biggest that we have. The other 2, well 3 are looking really good too. This red Hereford looking one is going to go with the grass-fed beefs when we go to the butcher here in 10 days. And these next 3 are going to go 2 weeks after that, so they won't go till the end of January. So we still got another, almost 3.5, 4 weeks to feed them. So I'm feeding these steers 3 of those white buckets a day between the 4 of them, which is giving them about 15 to 20 pounds of this grain mix a day. Then as always, they have all the hay they can eat throughout the day too. So I brought this ladder out here with me because I want to start untarping some of this hay that we got stacked out here. So if you watched my video from last week, you would have seen me bringing these wagon loads of hay up from Randall's. And as I was saying, this hay from Randall's was stuff that got rained on and got built up a little bit wet just when we were fighting all them storms last summer. So it's not the best of hay. And all of this hay that we have under the tarps is our hay that isn't very good hay. None of this stuff got rained on, but we had to bale it up a little bit early, so it got baled up a little bit wet. So it's probably not going to be the best of hay either, but it's going to be better than the stuff I brought up from Randall's. So I want to mix Randall's hay with this hay when I'm feeding. Then I'll also be mixing in the silage with all of it too, so it still should be some pretty good hay for them to eat. So this is all just one tarp, and I don't want to take the whole tarp off yet because it's going to take me probably over a month to feed all of this hay. So I don't want to untarp all of it right now and, you know, get some of it snowed on and frozen. So I think I'm just going to try to untarp this first quarter or so. And I'm thinking I can maybe pull the tarp back up on top, then tie it back down. At least that's what I'm hoping. So these first bales here are all 4x4 bales. Then you start getting into the 3x3s. So I'll probably try to bring the tarp back to this row of 3x3s here. And we'll start working on these ton bales first and work on what's on the wagon there. I feel like Sid the Sloth when he's trying to climb up trees, when I'm climbing up them hay bales. I struggled a little bit on that first one. So that worked out pretty good. I'm just gonna retie my ropes here to hold that piece down that I folded back. Then we can work on this first part of the stack. Then we'll just keep peeling the tarp back as we go along. I'll just leave the ladder out here because once I get rid of these 4x4 bales, I'll need it to get on top of these 3x3s. There he goes. So besides these 7 dry round bales that I brought up from Randall's, we're all out of dry round bales. So I have to mix and match bales now to get the right amount of hay that I want to feed the cows that day. We don't have any scales around here, so I just kind of average out our bales on what they've weighed in the past. So usually our 4x4 bales are usually around 1,700 pounds. Then when it comes to 3x3 bales, I usually say they're about 700 to 800 pounds. When I was feeding those dry round bales, I usually figured them at about 1,200 pounds a piece. Then these silage round bales are kind of hard to calculate because they weigh a lot more than a dry round bale does, but there's a lot of water weight in there. So I just figure them as being like 1,000 pounds of dry matter when I feed them, and that's how I calculate them. And honestly, this bale here looked really good. So this is one of the ton bales that I took out from under that tarp. It's looking really nice and green. This other side, hey cows, hey cows. You tell it browned a little bit here in the center, but other than that, this is a really good bale. So I'm feeding 70 cows a day. I try to feed between 30 and 35 pounds of hay per day per cow. And that comes out to be 2,100 pounds of hay a day is what I need to feed to my herd of cows. So with the way I've been feeding lately, where I've got these 3 different pastures and I lay out 3 days worth of hay, I've been having to feed a little bit extra some days and a little bit less on other days. So on the first day and in that first pasture, I roll out 1 silage bale, which is 1,000 pounds. And I also flake off 1 4x4 bale, which is about 1,700 pounds. So I figure that being about 2,700 pounds of hay that I put into that pasture. So that's about 600 pounds more than what I needed for that day. But on my second day and in that second pasture, I roll out 1 silage bale, which again is 1,000 pounds. Then I flake off 1 3x3 bale, which is about 700 pounds. So that puts me at about 1,700 pounds in that second pasture, which is about 400 pounds less than what I need for that day. Then on day 3 and in that third pasture, I roll out 1 silage bale, which like I said is 1,000 pounds. And then I flake off 2 3x3 bales, which gives us 1,400 pounds. So that gives us a total of 2,400 pounds. That's about 300 pounds more than what I need for that day. So if I add up all that hay that I fed over 3 days, the total comes to 6,800 pounds. So that's the total amount of hay that I fed over those 3 days. And then if I divide that by my 70 cows, that means I fed 97 pounds of hay per cow over those 3 days. So then if I divide 97 pounds by 3 days, that gives me 32.5 pounds a day per cow. So that's how I've been averaging out my hay over 3 days to give me my desired amount that I want to feed my cows per day. I do play with this number a little bit depending on what the weather does. So if we have some really cold days, I'll feed a little bit more just to make sure them cows have the the energy they need to keep warm. But on average, I try to keep my hay per day around 30 to 35 pounds per cow per day. So I just walked out here to open this gate to let the cows come into this next pasture so they can get the hay that I laid out in here for them. But before I let them out of here, I want to go and try to find a place to chip some water for them so they can drink out of the slough. If you watched my last video, you would have seen that the slough's frozen up now. Usually they drink out of this slough over here on this section of pasture. But since I've been feeding this different way where I close off each of these pastures, I need to find a source of water for them out here. So the slough does run through here in this pasture, but it doesn't really stay open. Like it freezes over, so I got to find the best place to try to keep it open. And while I'm out here, I'll just walk through these cows and just try to get them a little bit more used to me walking through them. Try to tame them down a bit from some of that wildness they gain up on the forest there. There he goes. Our new calf is still doing really good. She's up and running around, and I guess the cows are gonna follow me. Guess they think I'm gonna go feed them somewhere else. All I'm gonna really look for is just where the cow trails are going, because usually the cows are able to find the water, and usually the last place that they go to after things freeze up is gonna be the place that's gonna be the easiest to keep open. So you can see how well this feeding's working out. This is where I fed last night, and hardly any waste out here. So it looks like they have a pretty good trail coming down to this part of the slough here. Oh yeah, see, sure enough, we've got their little water holes right here. So doesn't seem like there's much to be done right here tonight then. I'm just gonna have to watch it though, because I know towards the end of next week we're supposed to have a pretty good cold spell. I was seeing on my weather app, you know, temperatures down about 15 below or so. That's still 6 or 7 days out, so that might change before it comes. I'm sorry ladies, but I tricked you. There's no food over here. Let's walk back. So we'll walk back to the gate and let these cows into that next pasture. And I'll go over there and I'll check on that normal watering hole and see how it's looking. Oh, they know. They heard me pop the pin on this gate and they came running. Monkeys. So here's the normal watering hole that I've been keeping open. I haven't had to do anything to this one yet this year. If you can see here, it's got a pretty fast ripple that kind of keeps this open naturally. And I just try to keep these edges chipped away so the cows don't have to go too far out there to drink. So I think I'll about do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and thanks for watching. Have a good day.